The Nathan, Nat and Sean podcast.
We do have the PM in the studio, Tracy.
Yes,
Very good. Actually,
it's wonderful.
It's great having Tracy here because you can see her nightly on Channel 9 there, PM. But she's also got a rundown of your schedule, and she was reading it to us earlier on, Tracy.
Well, I've got the timings of your schedule today.
It's a busy day.
They really jam-pack it in, Prime Minister, for you. And it's been busy for you ever since you took on the role, really, or being in politics in general.
It certainly has.
The last time we sort of met up was, I think it was Mardi Gras in Sydney in 2011.
2011.
You were on the
Long,
Kylie
long time
float.
ago.
2011.
You were spinning around. Move out of your way.
Long time supporter.
Tell you what, yes, he's great on the walk there along Oxford Street. It's a long walk.
It's good fun.
I've done it once.
Where
though,
else
because
is
how
a
many woos
politician?
can you do on Oxford Street?
Where else can a politician walk for kilometres and be cheered the whole time? Hey,
That's a really good point.
you know, like, why wouldn't you do it? I can't believe I'm the first PM to do it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What were
Imagine
they
if-
thinking?
Mate, imagine if you paired that walk with a mesh singlet. Oh my God, the cheers would have been amazing.
No one wants to see that.
So you were Transport Minister, were you? At the...
It was
I would have been in
2010,
2011. I would have been infrastructure
And chose to walk.
transport minister. Yeah.
Yep.
Walking is a very important form of transport to stay healthy, folks. Walk.
That is true.
Now, we gave you a gift when we had dinner at the lodge. Our photo of us that was framed, and we put it on the mantle. Now, Sean, Natalie and myself had a theory that as soon as that was to happen, one of your Downton Abbey staff would have come out and just with white gloves pushed it into a bin.
We thought by the time we got to the Uber, which is out at the side gate, that it would be in the bin. 100% no.
Yeah. Where is it, Albo?
It's on the mantelpiece. It's a great talking point.
Talk to me.
I had members of the US Congress there recently, about 25 of them, and along with everyone at the Australian-American Leadership Dialogue, we had drinks, and I could see people looking at all the photos. Okay, there's the King, there's the PM's family, there's these three people. I wonder who they are. The mystery. They would have gone back. In Washington, D.C. today, they are asking themselves, we wonder who those three people are.
Do you reckon they've opened up
What ministry do they have?
I believe the CIA has looked into
Yeah,
it.
do you reckon they open up a case file and just stuff like that to find out who we are?
It's X-Files.
If we have your ear, whether we can be turned into spies,
Yes.
perhaps, Sean?
Well, the CIA undoubtedly would have
Yes,
been there because
mate.
they participate, as do our security agencies in these meetings.
How's our Jodie going?
Jodie is going very, very well.
Yeah.
She's away a fair bit though this week.
Well,
Yep.
you're with a professional woman.
Well, we did get to see both of you at the Women's World Cup, which is fantastic.
It was
You were up
awesome.
and about. I mean, you'd have been so proud of that whole setup. I'd
It
imagine.
was so good to see packed stadiums cheering women's team sport was transformative. Like you wouldn't have thought that it would have happened 20 years ago, and to see blokes wearing Matilda
Isn't
shirts,
that amazing?
great, really
Yeah.
good. And that penalty shootout, I've been to a lot of sporting fixtures.
Yeah.
But nothing quite like that. When every one of the Matilda's 10 shots, the stadium, it was in Brisbane, you could feel people stop breathing for the few seconds beforehand. They just held their breath. And when they went in, there was a cheer. When they didn't a couple of times, there was this,
Yeah.
but it kept going. It was an incredible tense. It seemed like hours. It was only minutes, but it was just awesome. And then the Sam Kerr goal.
Oh, what a screamer.
We were waiting for that, weren't we?
are these-
Waiting
Our
for that.
flag bearer at the
Yeah.
coronation.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Are these
One of my best ever picks. That was foresight. For
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
are there certain pinch yourself moments from being the Prime Minister, and was that one of them? Because we're all watching it from TV and we're going, oh my God, this is something historic that we're watching right now for women's sport and the Matildas, and then you're down there with them after
it
the
was so
game.
important.
Is that one of
Yeah.
your pinch yourself
It
moments?
was just great.
Yeah.
And I got to know Sam by her being the flag bearer at
Sean's
the coronation. In really?
Yeah, she's my second cousin, yeah.
Yeah.
She is awesome.
My dad and her Sam's mum, first cousins, yeah. Live down the street from each other.
She is just such a great ambassador for our country, and they were just so rapt when they had that big win. but they're just fantastic ambassadors. They're so humble. They don't roll around like the blokes do either, with injuries.
There was a point of that, actually. If you watched their games, there were hardly any sort of, when they just sort of take a tumble when, they got hit in the head, but they're holding their ankle.
But think about it, though.
You know
when
what
a
I
man
mean?
gets a cold and a woman gets a cold, the man's way more dramatic. It's what we are.
It's the worst cold, though.
It's the worst cold ever, Sean.
I agree with that comment, though, PM. So does that mean you're going to find some more funding for them?
It was we announced $200 million for
women's sport,
women's and girls sport. We need to. There was a program of the former government, but unfortunately, it didn't go to women's and girls sport. But we will make sure that it does, and we've got an amazing group of women. Former stars like Lauren Jackson,
she's a
who
legend.
are giving advice on the program as well to make sure that we maximise the input.
So great to have you back.
Great to be here.
It really is great.
I was in Karratha yesterday.
Yes.
Okay.
How was it?
That was awesome.
What were we doing there?
Lots of big things in Karratha, looking at big trains, 2.5 kilometres long.
Yeah.
Imagine if you're stuck at the boom gates in that, you'd be losing your mind.
You would. My dad was a train driver. He used to drive the Indian Pacific.
That's a big one.
wow.
Right across.
The Ghan, yeah.
It was awesome. And then having a look at, they were loading iron ore onto a ship, and we went up high, up top, so you see all over Karratha and Port Dampier there, and just watching the scale of what they do up there is incredible.
I'd imagine it's way bigger than you imagine it be, and deeper, the ships, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I've been there many times before, but every time you see it, it's still
Impressive.
Extraordinary that what they can do. And of course, the iron ore going in means revenue coming to Australia.
Yeah.
Certainly does.
Yeah.
Righto, let's get stuck into it, because you're here for another reason too, and of course getting the voice getting the campaign up and running in WA, because there's been a few knockbacks, in particular when the Aboriginal Cultural and Heritage law was put in WA. There was a lot of backlash, and it's not only here, but it reverberated across
It was terrible
Australia.
timing for the voice, wasn't it?
Yeah, look, the voice is just about three things. It's about recognising Indigenous people in our founding document, our constitution, and then it's just about listening to them so that you get better results.
Yep.
And when you listen to people, you'll get better outcomes. That's all it's about, an advisory body that won't change the way Parliament works. It's a really gracious request from Indigenous Australians, and we're the only country in the world that's a former colony that doesn't recognise the First Peoples who were there.
Oh, that should be in the Constitution.
Well, 100%. But at the moment, people are frightened because they're getting stories from the other side.
Yeah, there's a lot of
saying
misinformation
that,
out there.
we're going to be going towards a treaty, and just from that, the cultural.
But it didn't work here. So there's. I know you're talking about the fact that there's a lot of misinformation, but there was something that happened here just recently, and all the farmers and a lot of people were just
they
like,
freaked
no,
out.
what are you talking about?
There's
Is
also
this just the
confusion.
beginning?
Well, that's got nothing to do with the voice, of course. And if you want to look at agreements between Indigenous Australia and non-Indigenous Australia, Perth, way back the Barnett government in 2015 had an agreement with the Noongar people here in Perth. It's functioned incredibly well. It's an example of people sitting down and having discussions.
How do you think the campaign is going? Because as Sean mentioned, there's been setback after setback, confusion, questions of detail. But how do you truly think the campaign, and especially with this week, an announcement is set to be made for the date?
Yeah, we're making the announcement on Wednesday of the date, but it obviously is imminent. It'll be after the footy finals are over and before the wet season in the north, so there's a limited
Space
your window.
Time. Yeah, that's
Window.
your window. Yeah,
I mean, otherwise you're not going to get people to invest in other things.
How is it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think when people focus on what the question is, as opposed to all the noise that's out there, they'll focus and they'll vote yes. And the people out there door knocking, there's 20,000 homes have been door knocked already in WA. When people have a look at what the question is, have a look at what's before them, they will take up this invite to say yes. and we'll be a better country for it. We need to do things in a better way. We have an 8-year life expectancy gap. You're twice as likely to commit suicide. Indigenous young men are more likely to go to jail than to go to university. So we need to do things better, and this is an opportunity to do things better.
Some people are saying that there's a massive concentration on this, and are you forgetting the cost of living at the moment that people are going through? Are you forgetting about Australian businesses in the other sector that generates money for our economy?
Yeah, well, you can chew gum and walk at the same time. Yes, I was at Karratha looking at the resources sector. After this interview, I'll be heading out to a TAFE to talk about how the numbers of fee-free TAFE, which were supposed to be 19,000, have been well exceeded. So we're skilling up young people and retraining people for jobs here in the West. And so we're continuing to do all of those measures. Cheaper medicines comes in again on the 1st of September. We've had cheaper childcare came in on July 1 for 1.2 million Australian families. So we're doing all of that. But at the same time, we're giving people the opportunity to vote in a referendum.
I think the thing about cost of living right now is they're all fantastic points that your government have came up and that's going to be giving people relief. But suddenly as the price of something goes down, 10 other things go up. And that's where people can't catch themselves. And I've never heard it so much before, like my whole time on radio, of people living pay packet to pay packet. And these are people that are actually quite well off. It's actually scary because it doesn't seem like there's going to be an end to it.
Yeah.
It felt like it started with COVID, didn't it? And then suddenly now we're like, wait, is this just what we have to live with? People, younger generations are giving up the dream of owning a home.
Yeah.
The
good news is that inflation appears to have peaked and is heading in the right direction, continuing to moderate. That's a good thing. And on housing, we have an agreement that WA signed up to as well for an additional 1.2 million homes to be built this decade. We've got our Housing Australia Future Fund for more social housing funding that's stuck in the Senate. We want the Senate to vote for in a couple of weeks. So we're doing all of those measures as well. The largest increase in rent assistance for 30 years. But the key is increasing supply, and we're working really closely with the WA government on that, as well as building infrastructure to where the new homes will be.
Pam, I just want to come back to the point because this is the main thing. So the voice that we're hearing about, when people are getting nervous because of misinformation is what you're saying, that a voice consortium can then make calls on land and the like, which we've kind of seen, that's not going to take place.
Not at all. All the voice is an advisory group, like business have groups, and a lot of people give advice to government. What it will be is a structured advice group. It'll then be up to government to decide whether they agree with it or not on any issue. None of that will change. And it will be like, remember in the lead up to the apology to stolen generations, people said, oh, you can't do that.
Because then we'll be culpable.
Because it'll be all these issues. Guess what?
Yeah.
Australia woke up the day after and we're a better country because we're more inclusive as a result of that. Marriage equality. The world was going to end.
I know.
Straight marriages were going to be ruined and end overnight.
I know.
Guess what? It's very similar.
Yeah. The only problem is you can't get a rental swan now because there's so many gay weddings. It's actually really hard work. So that was sort of on you.
Increasing the size of the market.
Exactly.
And glitter's gone up. I mean, I cannot even tell you how much glitter is.
That's gone everywhere.
But that's an example of something that just was giving something to one group of people at no cost to everyone else. At no cost. And this is similar. It will give a voice to Indigenous Australians, 3% of the population, at no cost to anyone else. Just upside, no downside.
It's a seat at the table. It's a seat at the table.
Exactly.
It's a seat at the table.
Hey, mate, we know you're super busy. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Albo.
Great to see you.
Coming in. All right. Remember, you've got to bring Jodie next time.
Yeah, we're having dinner.
We're having dinner.
Dinner? We have a date.
We do have a date.
Whenever you bring her over, we're on.
Yeah.
You can leave behind. We can go.
Another photo opportunity, actually. Another photo to put on the mantle.
No, that was good fun.
Thank you. I had the best time there, and I do as mostly right now. I want to formally apologise for your house staff for what happened. No one will ever know. Thank you, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese.
What goes on tour stays on tour.
Nathan, Nat and Sean is a Nova podcast. For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcasts.com.au. Nova.